So where I said earlier that I wasn't really sure whether I wanted to finish this one in the readathon, because I felt like if I finish this in my 24-hour readathon I will have nothing else to show. Well, we are hour 8 into the readathon and I just finished it. Hey everyone, Cleo here, and I'm starting my own 24-hour readathon today. So I actually started at 10 o'clock this morning. It's now almost 12. I say 24 hours readathons aren't really my forte so far. So I'm like very much of the... I'm not a marathoner when it comes to reading, you know. I can read for a bit, but like, yeah, thank you. But like after an hour or something, I kind of get bored with reading a little bit and I need a little bit of a distraction for a little bit. Yeah, you're now getting the distraction of very loud cats. I'll zoom out a bit and then you'll have the joy of my cats. So where were we? So I'm not really a marathoner when it comes. I'm not really a marathoner when it comes to reading. As in, I get distracted, and I mean, after like an hour of reading, I'm kind of tired, and I really need like a break for my mind, I guess. So I have spent the first hour of my readathon already reading in the book that I'm currently reading, and then I took break that was way longer than it was intended, because it's not a good idea to break with booktube videos. So I'm blaming Rachel from Rachel Marie Books for this overdue, for this way too long of a book break. But so the book that I'm currently reading, and that I don't know whether I'll be finishing in this 24-hour readathon or not, just because I'm pretty sure that this video will only contain that book if I do so, is the Overstory by Richard Powers. Especially for this video I decided to put the dust cover on it again, because otherwise it's pretty bland. So the Overstory by Richard Powers is has just won the Pulitzer Prize. It was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize, which was won by Milkman by Anna Burns. I'm reading it because I'm reading through the shortlist of the Man Booker Prize for 2018, right, for 2019, right? Yeah, okay. So I'm reading through the shortlist for 2018. I have read 3 books already, I think, so far of the shortlist, and I still have 3 to go. The Overstory by Richard Powers, I didn't really know what the story was about before setting into it. So I assumed it had something to do with a tree, because of like, I don't know whether you see it, but the cover is made up of like different trees. Like a couple of days ago I was super excited about this book. Now I'm getting a bit of trepidation. Maybe I was excited a bit too soon about it. So basically it's a story with a very interesting structure. So the story is kind of structured like a tree. So we start off with the roots, we get to the trunk, then we have the crown of the tree, and the final part is the seeds that it plants. So in that way already the tree plays a story in the structure of the book. In the roots we are introduced to, I think, 9 or something characters that we will be following throughout this book, and we are introduced to them separately. We are given their background story and the way that trees kind of fit into their life. You know, you have people who have been saved by a tree, a person who falls out of a tree and is like disabled for the rest of his life. You have a person who grows up with trees and whose family's mission is kind of like to document the life of a certain tree that is standing in their backyard. And so we get these very disparate stories throughout the first part of this book. But then during the part of the trunk, which is the part that I just finished, these stories start to interrelate and people start to meet each other. This is an element that I very much like in the structure of the book. I very much like disparate stories coming together later on in the novel. So for me this fitted very well, which also meant that like at the end of the first part I was super excited to dive into the second one, because there were already like hints and clues that characters would be starting to meet each other and things like that. And so I was really pumped for the second part, and the second part kind of was a letdown in that sense, because it just took too long, in my opinion. The focus of the second part is mainly the activation of these individuals, how these individuals start to feel that the trees that they love so much are under threat, and that they need to play an active part in protecting these trees. Not all of the characters, and there are definitely different ways in which these characters are doing this, but that part is definitely very much about activism, and I think it takes too long. It started to kind of, it drained in parts. It was kind of tiresome at some point. It was getting to the point where you were starting to feel like nothing was being achieved, and like they keep on doing actions and nothing changes and things like that, which is of course probably part of the message that the book is trying to portray. In any case, I've currently read 30 pages of this book so far. I do want to get to like another 30 before I make the decision or not to lay it down for the rest of the day and to maybe pick up something else. I would be very happy to finish it in this readathon, but on the other hand, it's also just going to be me reading one single book probably. I have like 120 pages left, which would be like 4 hours reading for me, so maybe, I don't know, we'll see what happens. I'll decide later on. Alright, let's fast forward 8 hours. So where I said earlier that I wasn't really sure whether I wanted to finish this one in the readathon, because I felt like if I finish this in my 24-hour readathon, I will have nothing else to show. Well, we are hour 8 into the readathon and I just finished it. It is just crazy for me because, according to stats, it's taking me like 14 days or 14, 19, I'm not entirely sure anymore. I think 14 days to finish this. Which is crazy considering the fact that like this morning I was like 2/3 of the way in and I read like 1/3 of it in less than a day, but it really picks up again. So I'm gonna have to sit on this to decide on my rating. At this point I think it's gonna be a 4, 4.5 or something within the 4. I wanted to give it a 5 because I really liked it, but it does have flaws, and I did find it to drag in the middle, so I feel like a 5-star read really needs to be a little bit more solid, I guess. Still, I consider it to be one of the best books I've read this year. And in scope, in intent, in execution, in technique, this is just the best book I've read this year, so all of those count for a whole lot. And so I do, in a sense, want to give it that 5-star rating just to like make it clear how epic this book in a sense is. So I said it before, this has a very interesting structure, and so the structure becomes even more clear if you get to the end of it. Not necessarily that it's explained really, but you start to see it more clearly, and that's just super interesting. The structure does not only structure your understanding of the story, because I think it does give a certain direction to your reading of it, but also your understanding of the book becomes like you start to interrelate it to the structure, and I just thought it's so interesting that like in the roots part, which I still think is the best part of the book, so the roots is like the first part in which you're introduced to the 9 separate characters, and basically what comes down to 9 short stories. So in these roots you're shown these 9 different characters, and then in the trunk they all come together, and then an event happens that in the crown branches out all of these stories again into like like some people might go on a certain branch and then branch out again and things like that. It's super interesting. And I was expecting something very different for the seeds portion. I was kind of expecting to see like how their story left seeds in certain other people's or things like that, but it took a very different dimension there than what I would have expected. Basically, I just want to do a lot more research into this book at this point to kind of figure out what Richard Powers himself intended with it. So there's like an hour-long interview with him at Shakespeare & Company bookstore I think it's in Paris. So I definitely want to see that, to see what his opinion is about the book. I think the one negative about this book that I feel is that it has a super clear message, and it's kind of very pushy about that message, you know. I support that message, but I do feel like even for me at times I was like, okay, we get it, and definitely for somebody who's not very much like who's kind of very negative towards environmentalists, or who is very much of the opinion that environmentalists are worried about nothing special, that this book is not going to come across very well. This book is gonna, like, they're just gonna immediately put it down again. Maybe not the first part, it doesn't really push it down your throat, but the second they get to part 2, they'll be like, oh, forget about it. And I've definitely read some of those reviews of people who said that they felt that they DNF'd it because like it was pushing a certain agenda down their throat. And so I think that that is the biggest negative about it. But so yeah, I'm going to be sitting on this one a little bit before I give a full review on it. I'm pretty sure I want to do a full video review of this book itself when I've delved into a little bit more of like, yeah, the small details about it. I really want to analyze it. So all of this is the fact that I'm so eager to learn more about it, that I really want to delve into it, makes me feel like it's a 5-star read to me, even though I know that there are flaws. So I'm probably going to give it the 5-star anyway. But so yeah, I am now going to have a little bit of dinner. In 2 hours time I'm also going to be gone for an hour because I have a aerobics class, but I also need to, in the meantime, decide on a second book to read and pick it up. So I'll get back to you about that, because in my July TBR, well, I haven't posted my TBR yet, but I'm thinking of filming it tomorrow, and I'm thinking of leaving it super empty. You know, I'm going to put the Overstory on there by Richard Powers, and I think 2 other of the Man Booker Prize shortlisted novels for 2018 that I still needed to get to. I think I'm going to put those on there and nothing else. So I can either go with one of these 2, which would be the long story, or no, the long take, or everything under. But I don't know whether I'm really in the mood for any of those. As you can probably tell, I am back from the gym, and I am back ready to start into the next book. I've decided to go with The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden, just because I wasn't too convinced about any of the 2 other Man Booker Prize nominees that I still have to go, and I really wanted something that I could potentially finish by 10 o'clock tomorrow, which is definitely not going to happen. At this point it's like 10 at night, which is usually my bedtime. I'm going to try at least to read till midnight, maybe until 1. I see that there's gymnastics at 1. So I don't know what is going to happen, but at least this, I know that I'll be like engrossed in this, and that there's a chance that I might want to like keep going at it, versus like literary fiction. Yeah, there's nothing that's going to motivate me to read like way past my bedtime for that. So I'll check in with you guys later, let you know. By the way, Bear and the Nightingale, I don't know too much about it. I know it's like a Russian inspired fantasy novel, and I think all 3 books in the series are out at this point. I actually won this book on a giveaway hosted by Iasmina from Iasmina and Dina. Well, that's the name of the channel, I guess that's her name. But I will link her channel down below, and it's been almost a year, I'm pretty sure, because I think it was before I started, or right at the moment that I started my channel. I started my channel in August, so I definitely need to start on this one. And yeah, so that's what I'll be doing now, and hopefully I will be heart attack. Hopefully I will be enjoying it as much as I think I will also. everyone, it is the next morning and it is actually already past 11 at this point, so it is time to round off my 24-hour readathon. I'm sorry I didn't take any footage this morning, but I was a bit too tired, but in any case, so I did read this morning. I didn't wake up at 6, which was the intended goal, but that's also because I stayed up until 1 last night to read, so getting up at 6 meant that I only had 5 hours of sleep, which clearly my system does not work then. So I think I got up around 7 or something like that. But so in any case, so yesterday evening and this morning I got through some 183 pages of The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. So now I can also give you a little bit more of the plot synopsis for this book. So The Bear and the Nightingale is actually the first book in a trilogy by Katherine Arden called the Winter Night or Winter Song trilogy or something like that. It's actually not really mentioned in the book itself. So yeah, Winter Night trilogy. The entire trilogy should be out by now, so if you're interested in that, don't let that stop you. And so we are introduced to this family who is living in the northern region of Russia in a small town, and like the father of the family is actually like the sort of like chief of the town in any case. And into this family a new child is born, and the mother really wanted another child to be born because she wants a child that has her grandmother's powers. And we are led to believe that this grandmother had some sort of like magical powers, mythical powers. I mean, nobody really knew. And so we are introduced to our heroine, who is Vasya. So her mother dies after giving birth to her, and Vasya is raised alongside with her brothers and her sister by their caretaker. But at a certain age she's becoming a bit wild, and some of her brothers suggest that maybe it's a good idea for her father to remarry so that there's an actual mother figure to take care of her and to kind of keep her in line. And throughout the story, I mean, as far as I've gotten, we're two people from the Moscow region enter into this foreign territory for them, and their influence becomes like a big part of the story so far in any case. So Vasya is very much representative of the old beliefs, of the old gods, of like the house spirits or protectors of the forest and things like that, all sort of like fae-esque beings that are roaming their town, and then her stepmother and then the other character coming in from Moscow are very much representatives of the new Russia, of the Christianity Russia, you know. They're very much trying to reform the town, trying to make them see that there are no demons, as they call it, and that they shouldn't be worshipping them, that they should be saving their soul and repenting to the one God. And so that's about as far as I've gotten at this point, but I must say that I'm very much intrigued by it. I very much like it. I very much hate one of the new characters coming in from Moscow, and it's a character that I've seen in multiple fantasy books, so in that sense it's not very original, and we'll see where she takes that character to, but it's also something that's often used. So it's basically a priest coming over from Moscow with a goal of converting everybody to the one religion, and kind of like I find it always so bothersome because I very much believe in freedom of choice in matter of like what you believe in, what you don't believe in, and these characters are always like going ahead and saying like they're doing these people a favor, they are saving their soul and things like that. But they're pushing their ideology onto that, even though it's clear that some of them don't want this ideology in their lives. So yeah, it's a character that I don't like too much, and I'm interested to see the arc there. I will be continuing on. I shouldn't be reading the entire day because this is my week off, and so now we're on a Thursday. I definitely need to get some cleaning done. But so yeah, thank you all for tuning in. So in all, I read the 155 pages that I still had left in the Overstory by Richard Powers. Absolutely loved it. And I read 183 pages in The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. So that means I got some 330 pages done for these 24 hours, which for me is fine. I mean, a slow reader, so and I also did some stuff in between there, so I'm quite happy with getting so much done in one day. I've definitely had more done in a day, but it definitely depends on the book. I think if I would have only read this, I would have probably finished it in the 24 hours, but I'm very happy that I used this time to finish the Overstory. So yeah, like and subscribe if you like my content. I don't have a regular scheduling, so I mean I film whenever and I post whenever, and now I have to go break up some cats.